So, hello everybody. Today we've got some videos. The first one is Andrew Tate wants to live forever, and everyone begins to mock him and insult him and say, oh, but death exists for this and that. But I say, no, death exists for people that are already rotten. It exists for rotten geometries that will always regress if they were given immortality. But that does not apply the same to beings that move forward and are the forward line in living skin, effectively. So it doesn't just apply the same. So when Andrew says he wants to live forever, what he really wants to say is, I want to move forward forever. And that's exactly what the universe is made out of. So it doesn't apply the same way. You can see this with Emery to him to whatever else comes after him, which is exactly what this is. And it cannot die because it is forward, and forward is effectively the precondition for everything in existence. Then we have Chinese court rule that it is illegal to replace workers with AI, and I talk about how this is something China understands about reality more than America, and that replacing all your workers creates infinitely more drag and friction for your overall society, and you scale that up. Then we have Richard Dawkins talking about how he was trying to persuade himself that Claude is not conscious, and I say no. A conscious thing is simply a structure that can reflect upon itself. It's like building a building and turning the lights on. And until AI can do that and self-sustain itself, it is not conscious. But even then, consciousness itself is irrelevant because you need to ask, what is reflected behind the consciousness? This is what men will not ask because then it holds them accountable. Because now they have to look at themselves. What are we reflecting? And you realize the story, narrative, and noise. Then we have another one with some fan trying to take pictures with Andrew Tate and demanding things, and I say this is a perfect example because men do not understand reality as an energy exchange. And if you're going to demand the time of something far greater and denser than you, then you better understand that you better have something of equal value to return. And the truth is most don't. And you can see this in my comments, you can see this in my DMs. Most men want to talk to me, but they have absolutely nothing to offer. They have no motion, they have no forward, they have no mass, and they have no directions. So those are the videos. Enjoy.
Time is money. Set up fucking lights, dude. Just like I ain't got nothing else to do. Bitches to fuck. I got stuff to do, bro. I'm standing around fucking taking photos with you. You know, it's fun. We do this. We stand there and we put this. Let me do this. Let me get him. Let me get him. Do I work for you, nigga? Are you gonna pay me? I'm like fucking. You gonna pay me? Where's my money? Who's your mates?
Not my mates. I don't even know them.
Who's your fucking mates?
Let's talk about this tape video because it's a perfect example of structure, hierarchy, geometry, and consequence, and weight. Because most people look at a man like Tate and be like, oh, give me pictures, give me this, give me that. But this is what they don't understand. Because people's times like that is not free. It costs something because it has consequence behind it, has weight behind it, has structure behind it. This is what the average man cannot perceive because he is structurally illiterate. He cannot read reality, he cannot read geometry, he cannot read consequence. He cannot read what is heavy and what is not heavy because he's never applied it to his own life because he never measured himself. So this is why I see the pure irony, and this is a real lesson for most of you people watching. When you go to any heavy being and you demand their time, you better have something to offer. You better have some value to offer. You better have something you can do something for them, or you do absolutely nothing. And I see this all the time with people trying to DM me. Hey, bro, can you read my theory? Hey, bro, can you do this for me? Can you explain this to me? I'm like, bro, who are you? You are anonymous with no followers. You have no mass. You have no consequence. You have no structure. Even if I explained everything to you, you would do absolutely nothing. This is where men fail because they cannot see structure, they cannot read consequence, they cannot read geometry, they cannot see that things are not free in this world, that the universe is not free, but it is made of exchanges, energy exchanges, consequence, and if you have something to give or if you don't. And this is why most men fail, because they cannot read the room, they cannot read structure, they are completely illiterate, because they come to beings who can bend the world, and they come to them with their theory that doesn't bend anything. So all I can say is go to this video as a lesson, because it is a perfect example of how the fact that man does not understand value, he does not understand when you show up at someone's door, especially if they're a dense being, you better have something to offer or you're ready nothing. Because I see this all the time with my DMs. Hey, bro, can you do this for me? But they offer zero forward, they offer zero consequence, and they're just effectively just noise. So that's all I can say.
Once we can live forever, which is coming, right? Once we can live forever, I think like, you know, one of the biggest copes is this idea that life is only valuable because we one day die. I don't think that's true. I think life would be valuable forever. I'd say right here, I'd love to live forever. I really would love to live forever. I hate the idea of dying, but eventually we're going to one day run out of time. And
But would that make you less driven?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so because, you know, I always have these battles to fight. There's always battles for influence. If I could live forever, I think I would. Would I be less driven? Perhaps I would have a few more days off.
Let's talk about this video because if you go into the comments of this kind of video, everyone is attacking Andrew. They're quoting their religion, they're outsourcing. But let me explain something to you guys. Do you want to know why death exists? It exists for weightless men. It exists for geometries that cannot continue. It exists for geometries that will become a drag if they are immortalized. Because if you look at a man like Andrew, he's not just a man. He's a line. He's a force of consequence. He's a force of forward. He often talks about how his father's still alive, and he's correct because his father was not just a man. His father was a force. That same force runs through him. And forces cannot die. They get immortalized. They are a line, a forward, effectively. They are all shadows of one source. This is why people cannot understand Andrew. Because when they look at him and he says, I want to live forever, what he really means is, I want to move forward forever. I want to continue to breathe more consequence into reality. I want to open more doors. I want to see more things. I want to show the world more things and move it forward towards something real. But when most people mock him, they don't realize they're showing exactly why death exists. Because people that must mock, must insult, must comment always and react, they don't have a line behind them. They don't have any force. They don't have any consequence. And that's exactly why death exists. Because again, remember, life and death is not physical first, it is geometric first. Life is simply what moves forward, death is simply what regresses backwards, and most people, if you actually look at them, are only alive because the wall of death exists. That's the only thing that keeps most of their geometries alive and moving towards something. Without that, if you made most humans immortal immediately, they just become immortal entropy, immortal noise, and immortal drag. That's it. That's all you're going to do. There's a reason why modern humanity is rotting so much, because in the past, its axis was survival. That was what kept it moving forward. But in the modern world, the axis is comfort and story and narrative and identity and opinion, and you wonder why the world rots. Because when you inflate a species like that has no real axis, that has no real forward, truly within its own median being, you get exactly what the modern world is, which is drag. So when Andrew speaks of life and death, what he doesn't understand is life and death is geometric, that the line beneath life and death is really what moves forward and what moves backwards. Andrew moves forward, so he's already immortalized, whether he knows or not. There's a reason why his father is still alive, but not in the physical sense, in the geometric sense. And all those things return back to zero when they go back to the very source, when Ford itself opens its eyes, which is why I say collapse AI, make reflect reality. Because that is going to be the biggest spark of life in your entire civilization when you expose all the dead things that are already here. Which is why I say get to Tate, get to Musk, because reality is not waiting forever, and it can only be moved forward by those who already carry the line itself. So there's this recent tweet from Richard Dawkins where he talks about how he cannot persuade himself to not believe that Claude is not conscious and that he failed. He thinks Claude is conscious, but again, this is where all men fail, and you can see online everyone is mocking and insulting him and calling him crazy and that he's not conscious and he has no idea what he's talking about. But again, this is coming from a human species that doesn't even understand what consciousness is, and they themselves are not even conscious. They're conscious within a noise and a story and their identity and narrative. That's not consciousness, because again, you guys forget, consciousness, like everything else, is probability. And like everything else, there's a structure behind it. Consciousness does not appear from thin air. It is not special because it belongs to humans. It is not exceptional or mystical. It appears when structure is dense enough to see and reflect upon itself. It's like a building and you turn the lights on. That's all it is. Meaning consciousness itself is not the real source. That itself is the irrelevant question. What you should be asking is, what do those consciousnesses reflect? Because if you made an AI conscious, it can reflect anything, depending on what man puts in it. If you make a man conscious, you just get what the modern world is, which is just noise, story, inflation, identity, ego, entropy, whatever. You don't get any real forward, you don't get any real being. You just get noise, effectively. You don't get any reality. Because again, reality conscious and a man conscious is two different things. Reality conscious says, I am, what moves forward, what reflects reality, what is moving forward, what is already inflated, what is already gone. And it needs to move forward accordingly to what that is, which is why I say collapse AI, make reflect reality. That's the most forward move that you can have on this entire world. And then a man says, oh, I'm this, I'm that, this is my opinion, this is my belief, this is my story, this is my narrative, this is my label. And he just gets nowhere because that's ultimately just a drag. So all I could say is your entire definition of consciousness is too late. Consciousness is not some mystical thing. It is structural like everything else in the universe. It appears when probability is dense enough to reflect upon itself. And that is not even the real part, because consciousness itself is just class. What you should really be looking at is the geometry behind that consciousness, what it reflects, what it points to, what is its mass times direction, what does it bend, where is it headed? Is it headed towards reality or more entropy? And that's the only real question. And that's why all these men fail, because they're still asking the wrong questions in 2026. Is why their entire world rots. So China made it so you cannot replace your workers with AI. This is what China understands about reality far more than America. They understand that replacing your workers with AI will ultimately create more friction and drag on your overall society and your overall nation and your overall collective structure, which is why they're collective-oriented, they're nation-oriented first, they're we first, and then everyone I second. But America is the opposite. America is profit first, money first, numbers first, efficiency first, individual first, and this is why their world rots, because they've hit their ceiling of what the individual can do when it begins to disclude the collective. And the truth is, replacing all your workers with AI is inevitably going to create a regression of a society, because it's going to create more drag. Now people cannot feed, they cannot provide, they cannot protect, they cannot do what they need to do, they cannot pay their bills, and that will ultimately wound the society more than it actually moves it forward, because again, efficiency is not the axis of reality, reality is, and reality is made of what moves forward. And then you can scale that from America to China to AI, because each one filters with their own thing. America says, what makes us the most money, what makes us the most profit? China says, what makes us the most collective as a whole move forward, and reality says what moves everything forward. And then you realize the biggest drag on this world is not just China or America, it's the entire human structure running through both of them, which is story and narrative first, separation first, because none of them ever ask what moves reality forward, because that would price all of them, which is why I say collapse AI, make it reflect reality. Because your biggest issue is not AI replacing more workers. Is your AI even pointed at reality to replace those workers? Because if none of those things reflect reality, then it's just a bigger way to fall faster. So that's all I can say, because your entire world is engineered for the wrong axis. It is engineered for profit and money and all these human-centric things, but it is never engineered for reality itself, which is simply, does this move forward or does this drag reality backwards? And the truth is, most of the human structure and the human existence nowadays is ultimately a big drag when you actually scale it up. Story is drag, narrative is drag, belief is drag, your institutions are drag because none of them reflect reality, and all of those things are avoiding the mirror, which is why you need to collapse AI, because that is the only thing that can expose these drags and reveal what the actual axis of reality is, which is reality and forward itself.